mentioned the 82%, right? Meta-Christian, just like the first testimony that you shared.
Mhm.
What if that couple that he was meeting, you said that they were prepared for the answers, or the questions rather, that he was asking. What if they weren't prepared? Did he indicate, or have any other, former atheists or former skeptics indicate that, okay, well, I did run into someone who I challenged intellectually, but they didn't have anything to give back, and I continued on my kind of atheistic journey. So what do you think, if that couple wasn't ready to answer the questions that this man who'd later on become a pastor, do you think that would have, at least halted or delayed in a sense? And do you think that that's important? I mean, you obviously you study apologetics, teach
Mm.
apologetics, but how important is it today?
I think it's critically important. One is when in my study, I
Mhm.
asked them how they had encountered Christians as atheists. Were
Okay.
they prepared? Were they able to ask good questions? Were they able
Mhm.
to answer their questions? Were they
Mhm.
knowledgeable? And unfortunately, it seemed to be rather an indictment. The majority of Christians that they encountered were not informed. One of the most indicting statistic that I got, they had to check boxes of, as
Mhm.
atheists, how they perceived Christians. Not one person checked the box that they thought that Christians were educated people. Ouch.
Wow.
Not
0%.
one, 0%. 72% thought they were deluded.
Wow.
They thought they basically thought, because atheism is a general rule, they are more highly educated and more intellectual, and so there's this sense of rational superiority. And then when they encounter Christians who haven't been thoughtful about their faith, they may know what they believe, but not why they believe. They
Mm.
can't talk about it on terms that can even relate to
Mm.
the non-Christian. So
Mm.
they perceive it as, well, you just believe because the Bible tells you so,
Yeah.
and the Bible tells you to believe, and so that's your holy book. So, but
Yeah, it's
there's
just
nothing.
circular reasoning.
Yeah, there's nothing beyond that. I mean, I was certainly caught in that trap, and it was when I was helping a seeker-oriented group at church, and
Mm.
I had no idea how to
Mm.
answer their questions. And so
Mm.
it's what really helped prompt me to, the Lord was pushing me like, okay, you need to do something about this. But what I want to say is, obviously, in my study, there were several who encountered Christians who weren't able to, they seemed to have a more defensive posture.
Mm.
They weren't open to honest discussion. And I think that defensiveness comes when you're not prepared. There's a
Yes.
quiet confidence that comes when you've done due diligence, and that the Christian worldview actually has the answers to all the big questions of life and the universe, that it has the best explanation for reality no matter where you turn. And when you
Yes.
have that, when you know that for good reason, as compared to other worldviews that don't offer that, then you can approach a conversation with a lot more gentility, with confidence, with openness, with fairness, not defensiveness, so that you don't mind asking the questions, because truth does not fear questioning. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to know
Mm.
everything about everything. And certainly, if you put me in a room with a lot of people who are incredibly knowledgeable about so many different areas that I have no clue, but yet I know, because the hard work has been done, I'm convinced that the Christian worldview is irrational and reasonable, and the best, most comprehensive worldview makes the best explanation and most sense of reality. I'm not so much afraid to engage, to be present, to have those conversations, because the truth really is on our side. So yes, people dismiss Christians because they were uneducated. They dismiss Christians because they weren't thoughtful. They didn't ask good questions. They weren't ready to engage. And so they went on until, a different time in their life. So I mean, we all fail. None of us but we're called to be ambassadors and to give a reason for
Yes.
the hope that we have. So if I can encourage someone, just even, I remember when I started my study into apologetics, I thought, you know what, if just for my daughters, and for myself, that I can help train them as they're trying to navigate all of these different worldviews, it was enough. But then, of course, when that we have this beautiful and dynamic and explanatory truth on our side, you want other people to know as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When you talk about defensive posture, what are some defensive postures that you've encountered that Christians might display?
Yeah, I think that sometimes if we don't know, or if we are feeling an affront, we'll shut down. I think that's
Mm,
probably one way that we're defensive. We'll shut down. We have a
mm,
tendency to call out the other. Oh, you're just, and then that
mm,
old ad hominem. Oh, you're just, you are, or just, throwing out a statement and just not engaging, and I'm not going to worry about you,
uh,
or what, just trying to
mm,
dismiss and leave, and you're
mm,
pushing back instead of verbally engaging, instead of warmly saying, hey, I want to get to know you. I really,
mm,
one of the best things that I can recommend is, if you're feeling defensive, you said it almost at the beginning, just listen. Say,
mm.
I'd really like to know more about you and your story. Can we just sit down? Of course, I have a podcast where I just want to know people's stories, because there's no non-fascinating person.
Mhm.
Everyone has a story, and
Yeah.
everyone, for the most part, loves to be listened to,
Mhm.
and valued, and to be heard, and it just helps you understand where they're coming from, and that is the opposite of defensive, right? It's
Yeah.
it's offensive, but it's inviting. It's inviting people in to really, again, share themselves in a deeper way. Of course, you have, and nobody likes to talk to someone who's not listening. They're not paying attention. Their eyes are going somewhere else. They're not really curious. They may be, okay, I was supposed to talk to you today. In fact, my daughter was approached just yesterday in a Target,
Mm.
um, by a young woman who you could tell it was okay. What do you believe? Now, can you come to my Bible study? If she felt like a project, rather
Right,
than,
right.
this defensiveness, and isn't the only posture. It can just
Mm.
be artificial or
Yes.
non-authentic. It
Right,
can
right.
be contrived, or I'm going to put another notch on my belt. Oh, see, I got,
Right.
rather than really get, as you've talked about before too, just really caring and engaging and wanting the best for the other. That's agape love, right? Wanting the
Mm.
best for the other. I don't want something from you. I want something for you. And I just really
Wow.
want to know where you are, and I'd love to hear about it. And that way you can really see why they are defensive sometimes to Christ or to the gospel, and
Right.
just, you're right, because you want those walls to come down, whether it's on their side or on your side, so you can have an honest exchange in a way that's not combative. But I mean, people
Mm.
have real doubts, real issues, and just putting them on the table in a fair-minded way, in a way that's safe. People approach others who are safe.